What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. This video is also brought to you by my music. Since we don't do any sponsorships here, I'll go ahead and shill that. Put a new song out called By Your Side recently, and would appreciate if you check it out anywhere you stream your music. So let's jump into this video, or at least the topic for this video, and it is Chaos Legion, because I've been thinking a lot about Chaos Legion recently. And one of the major things that I think about is the entire, like the fully maxed decks that could be created. So what am I talking about? You got a little over 2 million Chaos Legion packs that are currently circulating. And then of course the 10.3, almost 10.4 million that have been opened. And I did the math on this separately. Somebody can go and check me, right? So almost like 12.5 million packs, or a little bit more than 12.4 million. And essentially, if you divide that by 3,300, 3,400, which is roughly the amount that it takes to get a maxed collection or a maxed copy of maxed copy of everything, roughly, that gets you 3,800. I mean, hell, let's just round up, right? Maybe 4,000 maxed decks for Chaos Legion, which is not much, right? Considering that we don't have that many players in the game to begin with, but 4,000 max decks for the only set that's really overprinted. I mean, it makes you think about what this would look like if you actually had 4,000 people in the game that wanted a fully maxed Chaos Legion set. So here's the thing. My question now is, where does Chaos Legion belong? Because that is going to be what, whatever this mini set proposal comes in, that is going to be kind of like the driving factor. And what do I mean by that? Okay, so where does Chaos Legion belong, in Modern or in Wild? I'm not trying to get into like, should we change the formats? That's not what it is. It's just the timing of things could vary by anywhere from 3 to potentially 6 months or more. And what I'm referring to is, do we get this mini set and therefore extend Modern format to include Chaos Legion in it? Or do we rush Chaos Legion into Wild format by saying no to the mini set, voting it down, and essentially having whatever core set come out maybe in Q2 of next year, right? So this is why I'm saying, like, what do things look like in roughly 9 to 12 to 15 months from now, right? So I'm talking about like the middle portion of next year. It all depends on the decisions that we make as a DAO, right, as a community here, if and when Matt puts that proposal together about the mini set. So like I said, I've been thinking through what that means. Now, in Modern format, right, the argument for Modern format in this case would be, well, you have a bunch of new players that might potentially be coming in. There's cheap cards for them to participate in the format that's kind of meant for newer players, and therefore they can come in, and if we are able to get 4,000 people, I mean, we don't even need 4,000 people at this point. I would say that there's probably at least a couple hundred folks, maybe even up to 1,000 folks that have max decks, and then you have folks like me who are mostly maxed, right? All of my summoners are maxed. A lot of the cards, meta cards are maxed for me. And again, keep in mind, this is only Chaos Legion core set, right? I'm not talking about the reward set. That to me is like a lost cause, right? That's going to be like, I think we did the math on the Pelacor Bandits, and it was like 20,000 max players, or 20,000 max copies of like all those common cards, which again, I call that the land set, right? I call the entire Chaos Legion thing the land set. But there are a lot of core or meta cards that you need in the core set for Chaos Legion, right? And whether it's the summoners or whether some of the legendary cards, I mean, there's fantastic cards that came in those packs. And so if new players are coming in and they're looking at the cards, and part of the appeal is the fact that you can get in for relatively cheap with Chaos Legion, well, that in and of itself might be a reason to vote for the mini set, right? In a way, it's like, okay, well, you want to have cheap packs available. And so therefore, it's like it makes it that way. It sucks up all of the Chaos Legion cards off of the marketplace, because new players coming in will want to have everything that they need. Because the counter argument to this, right, and I'll switch over to Wild, but the counter argument for this is that once Chaos Legion moves to Wild, Wild is literally that. It lives up to its name. And especially because botting is allowed in Wild, a lot of times these decks, like, whatever sets are in there, you don't need fully maxed copies of anything, right? Really. So you can get by, because you're facing a lot of incomplete decks in wild format. So therefore the meta is wilder, right? Obviously. But in many ways, it can be a little bit easier because there are a lot of underpowered decks that you end up facing. And I'm still seeing that, surprisingly, despite the switch to DEC only for the Wild Season Pass, right? And I'll do a video about this as we get closer to the end of the season, but we're over 2,500 Wild Season purchases already, which compared to the, I think 3,200 that we had last season, only ended up being like a 20-something% dip, right? I know I made a video early on in the season saying it plunged a lot, and it did, right, initially, but I've been surprised to see how many purchases have come out through the rest of the season, and we still have like a third of the season to go. Now, I don't think the numbers are going to jump that much higher at this point, but again, I'll save that for that other video. My point with this is that once Chaos Legion rotates into modern format, all of a sudden it's like, well, I mean, we can get the cards if we need them, but if you're competent enough, the demand for Chaos Legion isn't quite there. But the counter argument, right, as I was saying, for moving Chaos Legion into modern format, into wild format, means that you get this new set early. And then you have a combination of two things that could be very powerful, where you have older players, right, or established players that have been around for a while that look at, I don't know if you would call Rebellion a success or not, but, they'll look at what happened with Rebellion. They'll hope that the team has continued improving upon what they were trying to do, right? Chaos Legion was kind of an overprint. Then you had Rebellion, which was better. And then you have whatever the next core set will be. You have those players going heavy on that new core set, which is going to happen either way. But then you also have a lot of the newer players coming in, and instead of buying the Chaos Legion set off the secondary market, they go in and, they potentially go heavy on this new core set that's available. And so all of a sudden we're burning a ton of DEC or locking a ton of DEC up in the DAO, and things start to look good. Now, you could make the reverse argument, again, and this is why I'm so double-minded about this, and I'm putting it out to you guys, that you put the mini set out, and a lot of the core people that are part of this game will go and buy the mini set. Now, with the promo cards, with just how everything's been, I think a lot of the sentiment has changed, and I don't know, right? These promo cards, that, especially the ones that come out in a couple of days, these are going to be very interesting to see how the response is. I mean, DEC has done decently well. Actually, somebody dumped a ton today, but for the most part, DEC has been on the rise. And I'm curious to see what the appetite would be for new cards coming into the space, whether it's promo cards or the mini set. But again, this is where I'm looking at the mini set now. It's through the lens of Chaos Legion, because keeping Chaos Legion in modern for longer, right? Therefore, getting a mini set and pushing the next core set off for a bit. That's essentially one way to try and save Chaos Legion. Versus, let's go to the new core set, let's rotate Chaos Legion out, and all of a sudden, just like we saw with Untamed, once the rotation happens, Chaos Legion becomes just less desirable. It becomes the land set, right? People go in and pick and choose what they need. New players, especially, if they're being pushed into modern, never even look at Chaos Legion. I mean, maybe they do, right? If they want to participate in Wild, or maybe there's some tournaments or things like that. But on the whole, it comes down to like Chaos Legion. Where does Chaos Legion belong? Does Chaos Legion deserve to be saved? Should we be trying to save it in the first place, right? So that is the lens through which I'm viewing this, and I'm curious to know what your thoughts and perspectives are. So let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I will catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Take care.